Well, today, opera is truly a global art, with some of the world's most famed artists not only coming from Europe and North America, but also South America, Asia, Australia, and even Africa. Nonetheless, the popular genres of music in this part of the world are Afrobeats, Afropop, Afro soul, reggae, and even R&B, but classical music, not so much. Well, our guest, Francesca Chiejina, who made history by becoming the first Nigerian soprano to ever perform at Carnegie Hall, tells us what we're missing out on. She'll also speak on how lockdown has affected the arts and plans for the future. But first, let's listen to her sing Ave Maria Otello.
Vergini sei tu, sia benedetto il frutto, o benedetta, di tue materne viscere, Gesù.
Oh, that was fantastic. Wasn't that OG? Gosh, amazing. So much talent on display there. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you can hear us. That was fantastic. That was fantastic. And I don't want you to feel as though we're playing with you. We're really spellbound by that. Perhaps this is me highlighting my own ignorance, but I'd never, ever seen an opera singer who was black before. So for you, I don't want to answer for you, but is this you? Have you led when you decided to go into this type of career, especially this genre of music? Were you going on from experience, or were you going on from inspiration from other people, or do you feel as though you've been like a proper force in this genre of music?
I mean, good morning. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It's good to be back. I don't think you would be alone in that that feeling of I've never seen a Black opera singer before. I felt the same way when I first got into it. I came into opera through an instrumental kind of upbringing musically. I took lessons at the Musan Center in Nigeria when I was younger. It was my first musical education. I learned to play the piano and the violin at the Musan Center. And I didn't really get into opera till I was about 18 to 20. And the influence mainly for that were my music teachers. I didn't really know what it was because I could read music. They would put me in choirs because I could sing any of the parts. But to sing in choirs, you audition for the choirs. And I just kept hearing, you have a voice, there's something there. There's something there. And I didn't really know what opera really was till I got assigned to do some homework and go on YouTube to learn some songs. And lo and behold, 8 years later, it's a big love affair.
That's such an inspiring story. Good morning, Francesca. This is OG, second time I'm interviewing you here.
Yes, good to see you again.
I remember the last time we spoke, I was so blown away with your performances that I watched on YouTube. I'd like to know how you've grown from them. It's about 2 years ago. But before that, just give us a little more of your background. I know that you just talked about that, but I want to talk about the fact that you were a doctor. I mean, you were studying to become a doctor, and then you switched to music. And now that you do soprano, what prompted this decision?
I mean, it's probably every African parent's nightmare, isn't it? I was about 2 years into my degree.
Right.
And so while I was doing my biology classes and my anatomy classes, etc., I kind of took choral classes on the side to have something fun. But I kind of knew something was wrong when I would look forward to the choral classes more than the 4-hour biology labs. So I just kind of told my parents. I auditioned for the music school at the University of Michigan because I was in the science department. So I auditioned for the music department, and I got almost a full scholarship. And I think that's what sold my parents on that.
That's interesting.
I mean, that'll definitely do it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're dropping out of med school to sing, it better come with a scholarship. I definitely think that helped ease the news to them. Listen, in our introduction, we talked about your experience and how you were the first Nigerian soprano to ever perform at Carnegie Hall. We'll come to your experience on that, but as a Nigerian, perhaps you're aware that there is, of course, the National Theatre here in Lagos, and that's coming over some type of renovation so that it can restore its lost legacy. Do you ever see yourself, when that renovation does happen, coming back to Nigeria and performing on those stages?
Well, of course. Actually, as you know, the coronavirus kind of put everything in a tizzy. I was actually supposed to be back in April and May of last year to do a couple of performances and masterclasses to just kind of share my experience. Although I am young, I have been lucky to have a lot of experiences, and I was so looking forward to this. And my plans got foiled with, the craziness that's going on right now. But definitely, once I get my vaccine and the borders open up again, I'm definitely having plans to come back home.
Lovely. Yeah. And what about the Carnegie Hall experience? What was that like?
Oh, wow. That was 2 years ago now, because it was right before I came and met you. The thing is, like, when you're doing these things that you later look back and think they're iconic or, like, tremendous, when you're in the middle of it, you're just, like, doing the work. So I just took the flight. I learned the music. I studied. I showed up. I sang. And then 2 years later, it's like, wow, you performed at Carnegie Hall, but you can't really...
made history. You did make history. Francesca, we're going to go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue on this conversation. Do stay with us. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Still in the studio with us still on the morning show with us is Francesca Chiejina, right? Before you take questions from us, I'd love to listen to one of your songs. I'd love for the audience to listen to one of our songs. Let's listen to Air Delia. Francesca, that was beautiful. Tell us about that experience.
So the clip you've just seen is, I think, day 2 day 3 at Carnegie Hall. So it was the third day of the masterclass series, and Joyce DiDonato, you see the little lady on the stool on the right, she invited us to perform. And it was kind of like an intensive 3 days, and we learn something every day. And by the end, she kind of gives us freedom to implement the things we've learned, and also to basically play and explore with an audience, though. So there's a little bit of pressure. It was. I mean, I could tell you I was exhausted by day 3 because I was ingesting so much information and trying to just implement it and learn and be present and experience everything. And I flew in from London at that point. So with the side of fighting off jet lag, it was definitely a wild experience.
You know, when we think of Nigerians and music and culture, there's specific genres that jump out at us: Afrobeats, perhaps even reggae, R&B. Not so much opera being on the tips of the tongues of people when it comes to the type of Nigerian music that they want. And I know in your answer just there, you talked about having the freedom to play around with the sounds. Classical music is classical for a reason, right? But do you have any intentions, or have you ever tried to experiment with the sound to make it more modern, or are you comfortable staying with it in its original classical form?
Although, like, classical music is classical and it's kind of the foundation of what I guess we call pop, I think there's a misconception that there's little to no freedom. And the whole point of classical music is to learn the rules and then later, break them. So I think that especially as like someone who's like a little bit of an enigma in the classical music business, I definitely try and bring myself and my heritage and my life experiences into the classical realm, which is what makes it super relatable and basically immediate. And you don't have to really be fake and try to make it modern. It is modern because I exist in 2021 performing this music that's hundreds of years old. And that alone is enough,
Francesca, I'd like you to speak on the entertainment industry here in Nigeria. I know Adefemi just talked about the genre that we have here, and I'd love to know about the level of acceptance of your craft here by Nigerians. What has it been like for you?
I mean, I definitely feel embraced by the Nigerian community, specifically the classical music Nigerian community. My colleagues at Musan, like in any video or any performance you find of me online, there's always someone from back home, like saying, "Big up Nigeria, Naija, no to carry last," So I definitely have my community behind me. In terms of the broader spectrum of opera being popular, I mean, I think as far as I know, opera is this thing right now in Nigeria with occasionally you hear it at a wedding or a big church service. And I think, it's a good start. And I don't feel like it needs to blow up as an art form. It's there for anyone who wants to come, and it's there for anyone who wants to experience it. Just like lots of other genres, it's not for everyone, but it can be, and it's not that exclusive, isolating thing that people think it to be. Like I said before, just the fact that I exist in 2021 performing this music makes it relatable and human and immediate.
Absolutely. So for our viewers just joining us, we are speaking to Francesca Chiejina, who is an opera singer, soprano of Nigerian descent. And we have another audible clip for us to watch. I guess it's video and audio for us to watch and listen to. Let's take a listen.
was beautiful, Francesca. Okay, so COVID-19 has no doubt affected the entertainment industry. Now, what changes has the pandemic brought to the system of operatic performances? And how have you been able to cope during this pandemic?
As you said, it has really affected the arts, and it really did almost immediately, because the theaters closed. People's, livelihood basically just disintegrated, and it was really scary because initially we thought it was going to be a thing of, oh, just be a few weeks, a few months, and we'll figure it out. And it's been a year. So it was really devastating for the theater and the theaters and a lot of my colleagues. But almost immediately, we knew we needed to keep creating. So a lot of the performances and the concerts and recitals went online. And so this year has been a season of online performances. I think I've had about 6. Which is super weird. And I just kind of had to get used to singing and having a camera right here and, not trying not to pay attention to it and just trying to be as authentic as possible. And I think although it was devastating and you could tell that people are worried that, are we going to bounce back? Just as much as that's the truth, I think because we have been so disconnected physically for so long, I think it shows how important, being in a theater and sharing a live experience is. And I think once we figure everything out, there's going to be a big boom. It just not having it for a year just really makes one understand how much we need the arts.
Yeah, right.
I definitely agree with you. I know you've talked about how devastating the pandemic has been to society, but definitely to your own career. And I know that that's impacted the way you can look ahead and plan accordingly. But what can we expect from you in the future in terms of your music and your career?
Oh, well, because in the vein of recording things, I'm actually working on my first album, my first solo album. We are working on Winterreise, Winter Journey by Schubert. It's an hour and about 50 minutes long, and usually, again, the demographic that performs this thing are like Anglo-Saxon male, middle age. So I just thought it would be a fun challenge as someone who's the opposite of that demographic to explore. And I think once things hopefully open back up in June, I have a performance at Birmingham Opera, and I have. So the thing is, like when I first came on Arise, I just kind of not finished, but was ending a career as a young artist, and now I'm trying my hand with the leading roles. So in June, August, and December, I'm trying 3 roles that are leading roles, and it's a different demand, and I'm getting stronger as I've been in this career for a little bit. And so the new challenge is to do leading roles and headline the shows. Right. And I'm feeling really lucky that people are trusting me with such responsibility.
Yeah, I'm hoping that you have grown, because the last time you were on the show, we tried to have you sing or perform for us, and you said it takes you about 3 hours. I remember that to prepare. So are you able to do anything now on the spot?
Unfortunately, it's 7:30 a.m. over here.
Okay.
I'm in an apartment.
No worries. But also, so what do you do when you're not performing or preparing for the opera?
To be honest, when I'm not performing, I'm usually preparing for the next performance. But because of COVID, I've gotten to really, remember all the fun things I did before life kind of got so busy. So I've been reading a lot. I've been kind of, really keeping in touch with my family and like really delving into those relationships. Because, like I said before, being so disconnected, I realize how valuable those relationships are. I think, like everyone, I've been trying to find a way to exercise because we're moving less because, we've been locked down here in England. Yeah, just, taking it one day at a time, not putting too much pressure on myself, but honestly, mostly preparing for the future as if things are going back to normal and learning lots of new music and taking the time to learn lots of new repertoire because I'll need it.
Right.
Definitely. I want to go back to race for oh, well, I'm going to ask anyway. We only have 30 seconds. Very quickly, Francesca, do you ever feel as though your race has been a barrier in this certain genre of music? Very, very quickly.
I haven't tried to think about it. I'm sure if I knew everything in the background and all the works and all the powers that be, I'm sure race has had some play in it. But like I said, when you're doing great things, you just kind of focus on the work in front of you and don't let the noise, affect you too much. And the racial stuff is noise, and you focus on the work.
It is.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Francesca. Wish you luck in your future endeavors.
Thank